What's up, everyone? Today I wanted to look at the Dune Destroyer clan boss, who is also in Dream Realms occasionally. So you can refer to this for both game modes if you are ever facing the Dune Destroyer. As you can see, the Dune Destroyer is a big rock guy with purple kind of gems coming from him. And I want to show you some examples of some teams that have been successful for me and teams that I have seen successful for others as well. So my first team, I'm going to have Thane as kind of the main character. He is Ascended 1-star currently. Obviously, if you have him a higher level, he's going to do more damage. But I think for now, a 1-star copy of him should be fine. I have Sanja in the front line with him, Mortis up top, Rowan right here, and then Rosaline right here. And then I have the Owl as my pet. And so obviously, the more built up you have your units, the more just damage you're going to do. So keep that in mind. You can't just put all purple units in here and think they're going to just do a lot of damage. You obviously need to build them up, with Thane being the biggest carry. But that is also what the Hunting Blade is for, where you can borrow your guildmates' characters. You get to borrow 2 total between both teams. So I have my Rosaline is borrowed currently. You can see that because it has the green kind of knife thing next to her. For my second team, I have Mishka, Gritzel, Awakened Solace, Laika, and then Shaltir. Obviously, this is a very new comp because Shaltir just came out just a few days ago. And then I have the Deer as my pet. Obviously, you can only choose 1 sigil. I'm going to keep it with the Light Bearers, though, for this one, even though it doesn't really do anything with this wave. And then I am borrowing the Awakened Solace just because I don't have her. But once you do, definitely use her in clan battles or guild battles because she's basically great everywhere. So let's go ahead and see how we do with these comps. Let's just skip. New records. So this first one I did about 100,000. And the second one I only did 58,000. So keep in mind, these levels are going to go up as you kind of level up your characters. Mishka being red does hurt this one quite a bit. And then Sanja being red and then Mortis being purple does kind of like pull back a lot of the damage on this one, but still doing 100,000, still doing pretty good. And then you can see Thane, like I mentioned earlier, 1-star, holding back a little bit. But this is a comp where if you have the damage units built out, you can definitely crank a lot of damage. And it's a pretty, like, 157,000 is pretty good still. That's not a, something to not be proud of. So if you actually go to rankings, you can see I'm 12th rankings on our leaderboard in my guild currently. But then if you look at, the rankings in our server, you can kind of get an idea of some of these comps in action. So here's a similar one to me, but with her, I'm like blanking on these names. With Thane being, Ascended, which obviously can do a lot more damage. You can see Thane in this comp is doing 5 times the amount of damage that I had him doing, which is a combination of Thane and Mortis being up and then his level being really high. Another one this is a similar one to what I did, where you had Asol, Mishka, but then you could have Shrima, Laika, and then this person here. Obviously, there's some limitations depending on which units you have, but here are some other comps you could use. Going to the next one, I believe this is the same one I used. Yep, this is the same exact one I used. Thane's a little higher. Thane was really cranking damage in this run. 300,000 damage for that one. And then kind of a similar one to what we saw before with Asol, Shamira, etc., etc. And so this is a good way to just kind of see what other people are doing, seeing what comps they're doing. The highest one on my guild did 143,000 on the first one. He had Mortis a little higher. And then this is an interesting one. I haven't really seen him used much here, but Mishka, Thane, Asol, and Laika also being used. So basically what you want to do is you find these different comps, figure out what works best for you based on the units that you have. Shamira is used in a lot. She does a lot of damage. Combine her with Rosaline, and Rowan is really good. And then you can throw him in there as well with the Mortis. you can really do like crank out a good amount of damage. I would say aim for about 100,000 damage at least for these. If you can get above there, that's great. But for your average damage, if you can get 100,000 at this point, your comps are doing pretty good. You can see here that with a 1-star Thane, you are missing out on his 3 and 5-star kind of divine effects that really help him amp up his damage. And if you combine that with a fully built out or even like a partially built out signature item, his damage really kind of starts going. And so if you're looking to build someone out who could thrive in some of these single target boss situations, Thane's is pretty decent of a unit to use, especially for the guild boss we just showed. But he's also can be used in other areas like campaign, Twisted Tower, and so on, and can be kind of a pain to go against at times because once he kind of gets going, he just kills a lot of people. So he's a fun unit. I like playing with him. He's not necessarily the best unit in the game by any means or close, but he is a really fun unit to play with, which is why I'm kind of building him out at this point. But thank you all for watching. Here is another just few examples of what other people have used that have been successful. As you can see, they're using Eins in this one, which is interesting to see. A lot of it really is just playing around and seeing what is the best units that you can use that have been successful in other areas. But like I mentioned earlier, a big thing is looking at the leaderboards or the rankings and seeing what other people are using and what's working for them, because that can kind of generate some different ideas for you based on the units that you have. Unfortunately, we're not, because the bosses change every so often, there's not like a set team that is just overall the best team, because every boss works differently. And so you want to kind of see what works best for each boss for the units you have. And then once you find what works, just kind of rinse and repeat every time the boss rolls around. But hopefully that was helpful, y'all. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will continue releasing boss videos for everyone as they kind of roll into each set or whatever. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.